When I look back on my career, we did exit for a large amount of money. We did take venture capital about halfway through. And the reason that I'm keen to talk to you about it today is that when I look back on it, I don't think I did the right thing, taking the money in. Did we really need it? Did we really know what we were doing? I remember being seduced by the opportunity to take some money off the table. It was an ambitious technology change that we were embarking on that was going to be expensive, so it wasn't like we didn't need the money to do it quickly. But at the end of the day, as I look back, and I don't tend to do this a lot because it's in the rearview mirror, but at the end of the day, I would have been further ahead financially had I grounded out myself, got to where I needed to go, and then sold the company or not sold the company. I would have made more money, which is kind of the name of the game when you're working that hard, or when, as I am now, investing in companies to try and get a return. So I humbly stand before you. I'm not complaining about a $170 million exit, but if I had not have taken the venture capital, I would have been further ahead. So let's start there. Why do you or why do your clients think they want to take in outside, passive, non-operating investors? Here's a couple of reasons why you might not want to do that. One, the agenda changes almost immediately that you take outside partners into your business. Here's how venture capitalists work. They are measured, and their performance is measured, their fund performance is measured on a term called IRR, which is internal rate of return. Internal rate of return is essentially a combination of what value you invest in a company at versus what value you exit the company at, i.e. sell your investment, usually by selling the company, over what period of time. So by nature of that definition, the venture capitalist's incentive is to come in, get their stake in the company at as low a value as they possibly can, grow the company as quickly as you possibly can, and then exit the company for as much money as you possibly can in the shortest period of time. That agenda may line up perfectly with how you've looked or how your clients are looking at growing and exiting their business, but it may not. And it leads to a lot of decisions that aren't necessarily in the best long-term interests of growing a company. If you're growing a company to hand it down to your grandkids, if you're looking to make long-term investment decisions that might not pay off for 5 years down the road, but it's the right thing to do at the right time in the business, both of those things may be fundamentally opposed to what your new venture partner wants to do by virtue of their model. So when you're sitting around the boardroom table making strategic decisions, just know that your outside venture partner is looking for an agenda that may be entirely different than your own, and you've got to realize that coming in. The second reason you might not want to take venture capital in is equity. If you think your company is going to do well, equity, by its definition, is the most expensive way to have your company funded. Okay, when a venture company like me wants to put money into a young company that's growing, I'm looking for a return of north of 30%. That's my target. Bank money is a lot cheaper than 30%. Mezzanine debt is a lot cheaper than 30%. Grinding it out yourself and finding a way to grow without the money is a lot cheaper than 30%. So if you think the company's going to do well, and if there are ways to do it without taking an equity partner in, you need to explore all those avenues before agreeing to take venture capital money in, because it's the most expensive way to grow your company, just by definition. Okay, so explore every avenue. 2 reasons why you might not want to take, or you might want to think long and hard about taking venture capital, or have your clients think about taking venture capital. Other side of the coin. I told you a bit about my story with the technology that took up half this room. It was expensive, gave us room to grow. This was in the 80s and 90s. We live in a very different time right now, and it's characterized by a couple of things. One, there's no secrets anymore. Okay? Used to be when I was starting in business, if you had an idea, I'm not saying that someone else in the world somewhere doesn't have the same idea. I'm sure they did. But the difference is the idea you could keep to yourself for a little bit. Today, if you have an idea, it's being blogged about, it's being tweeted about, it's being Instagrammed, it's being Pinterested. It is out there, right? So there are no secrets. The second thing is when it comes to technology, and that's my background and that's where I've grown up, so I'm going to use it as an example, but I think it applies to every business regardless of how much technology is involved or not. But as it pertains to technology, it has never been less expensive to create a technology-based product, right? So whereas, we used to take months to develop things and many hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, people are putting up code in their basement overnight, right? So the speed at which things are moving is dramatically different than it was when I was starting out. So I get asked a lot to speak to groups of young entrepreneurs, or in the audience are parents with kids that are thinking about this whole entrepreneurial trip, and I'm saying, it's great, it's very personal, you feel every victory, you feel every defeat, but be prepared to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because if you're not doing that, your competitor is, and they're going to kick your ass. And that's just because the difference in speed from when I started to now, because of technology and because of how information travels, is just so dynamically different.